Hello, dear friends. We are back watching another one of the genetic algorithm AIs compete. Here I have two of the best so far going against each other. Not too encouraging at the start, but I've seen where they end up, so there's something to be said for them. I have some... Well, first of all, you'll notice this is no longer running in DE. We are using AoC, the original, to run these practice games now, just because we're able to do some fun stuff like run multiple instances and make it go faster than 8 times speed. And the unfortunate downside that we've realized is that the AIs evolved in AoC, user patch 1.5, do not port well over to DE directly. It may be possible to port them with modification or later on, but for now we're just going to use this because it's so much quicker for training. And we will worry about porting them over later. So first things first, you'll notice that they've, at least the blue AI, red is the exact same AI, so maybe it has different triggers so far, but it has created a lumber camp. The other bad news I have is that you may have seen on the Discord that some of the AIs reached feudal age. I discovered that this was happening, though perhaps not in... the DE version. I saw it happen once. That could have been legitimate. I wasn't able to replicate it. The one in here that I saw it happening every time was due to an issue where the game was started on a higher difficulty, hardest, that gave bonus resources at the start. And so the AI didn't have to worry about collecting all the resources it needed to age up, and it was able to do so. The AI you're going to watch does some really exciting things that I think are interesting and cool to see, especially given that, once again, none of this was trained by a human being. It just was put in the game and selected for certain traits based on how they perform in this environment. There's some cool stuff here, but it's not aging up yet. I think we're going to have to wait until we make some further modifications to the program we're using to extract scores and stuff so that it's able to see final age and give it bonus points for that as well. Anyway, with all that aside, not much exciting has happened. I'm going to go ahead and speed it up. But one thing to notice is that it is putting villagers on food and trying to constantly produce villagers, which is a seemingly necessary strategy for the early game, at least early on into the training session. But it may, later on as this gets more complex, be beneficial for it to be able to limit the number of villagers it creates in some way or another. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops. Anyways, let's increase the speed here. So you'll notice eventually it's going to build a mill somewhere. I didn't see where it built it on my first run through here, so it'll be interesting. I think it does lumber camps first, which I'm not exactly sure why. It might just be less ideal. That happens to be the condition that passed. There we go. There's the mill going up. So early on, perhaps a AI that was able to also do the farming had this perhaps less than ideal building a lumber camp very early on, and building several lumber camps very early on that just happened to make it through. But these are the kinds of things that are going to get weeded out as we're able to train for longer periods in more granular conditions. So hopefully we'll see it get better. Anyway, we can see that it's farming, and farming more successfully than any of my previous AIs, and critically it has 2 dark age buildings now, which means it actually could age up. It has the requirements. It's queuing full villagers and able to constantly produce. Collecting gold and food, that'll become necessary in a moment. And yeah, it's not exactly pretty. I think that these are just being built in a loop, like if you have wall true or if you have the wood necessary, create these no matter what. But you'll see that it did actually create. Let's see if we can slow this down. Oh no. Oh no. I started at the beginning. Well, I'll pause it and wait until I get back to where we were about. Just a sec. Alright, and we're back. You'll see that it's now building a barracks. We can speed it up a little bit. And it's collected all this gold, and so you'll notice it immediately starts queuing militia. As far as I know, and granted I didn't watch all of the training that's happened so far, because obviously sometimes it runs overnight. As far as I know, this is the first AI that has both learned to train little armies like this and employs them. I've seen it train them before and just have them huddle around the town center like they're doing now. But based off of the performance of this AI and the free-for-all, I believe that it's eventually going to send out these little armies. And you'll see that red, though it was off to a slower start, is now basically in the same position, though it hasn't quite built its own barracks yet. Interestingly, and I'm not sure why this is, these AIs have learned to lure boars, like you see, but they do it very inconsistently. So it might just be that it's in a weird condition loop and is activated enough of the time to give them an advantage, but not all the time. So you'll see in this game, neither of them did it. Anyway, as I said, these little bugs, these upper level optimizations, we'll call them, begin to be worked out later on as you get more and more competitive AIs. So you'll see the army is walking around here, it's continuously producing. Let's speed it up until we see them go off on a little raid. Now, I will concede that this game didn't actually have a winner. When I came back, both AIs had cut down basically the entire map and were in a stalemate. So it was fun to see all the buildings. They cover everything with their buildings. But it's kind of, I don't know. It's fun to watch it because it's so biological looking to me. It's like a cancer that's just learned to grow and is going to keep getting resources and keep growing, keep producing villagers, collecting resources, so on. Maybe not the most pretty analogy, but an interesting one nonetheless. Now, is it actually going to go raid? We'll see. We can check on red. Yeah, red also has a little army here. As I said, I watched this in a free-for-all where they attacked each other, but I haven't actually seen them do it in this game. This is the first time I've watched this recording, so. Open, blue is now building multiple barracks, but doesn't have the gold to maintain production, which is interesting. You would think that, oh, that's interesting, how it works. You would think that researching feudal age would be valued because it's an additional research, and additional tech, and also because it gives the advantage of being able to research things like men-at-arms, right? That would be much more effective in these little battles. But for whatever reason, that hump hasn't been jumped over yet, and I think we're going to have to directly reward it through the, as I mentioned, through the engine we're using in order to get the genetic algorithm to select for that. So we've got a fair-sized little army here. Let's check on reds. One of the first things that I noticed they did, and I didn't catch it at the beginning of this recording, it'll research loom immediately, which I suspect is just, as I said, suboptimal. It'll get weeded out later on. But it's interesting that it sees loom as valuable, probably because it stops villagers from dying from wolves early on. Alright. If I miss this, when the army goes off on a run, I'm going to be sad. We'll see. I don't think they have an army here at the end of the game, so I'm pretty sure that a battle's coming up, but maybe I'll have wasted all of our time. It still is, like, I don't know. I hate to jump on this again and again, but as somebody who's worked in genetic algorithms for a long time, I'm always just amazed to see emergent behaviors like this, you know? It doesn't look pretty. If this were a human person, you'd be like, what the hell are you doing? But that's almost makes it more appealing to me. You know, this is like just sheer trial and error, Darwinian force, computer thought style. And it looks ugly at the beginning, but it can create some really interesting outcomes in the end. And I'm excited to see what those will be. The fact that this is like even kind of playing Age of Empires, it learned to farm and build production buildings without knowing any of those things were good to begin with is just so interesting to me. But I'm just delaying the fact that I can't get these little armies to fight each other, so. Now, it may have learned to stick near the town center, actually, because now that I'm thinking about it, I always watch the parent when the training is happening. So it could be that another AI developed the capacity to go fight, and this AI learned that it could actually do best if it's able to stick around the town center and to get the military bonus score from killing an attacking army, being on the defense rather than being the aggressor. So we might not actually see a battle today. I'm sorry if it hyped you out. It's nothing special. They basically just patrol into each other and you just see a lot of skeletons, which is interesting, but I guess not that much more interesting than just watching them mill around here, seeing what that behavior was selected for. And we'll probably just fill up the map, so I don't know how much time is left in this recording. Hopefully not too much, but it would be nice if we could see a big battle before the end. If you are interested in this project, if you find what we're doing interesting, I can't promise that you'll get added to the group. It's not like it's super exclusive, it's just that there's some files that are secure, basically. We don't want to be sharing around too widely involved. But I'd at the very least be happy to talk to anyone about it. I think it's a lot of fun, and I can talk about what I've learned, what we're hoping to do next. Gab is working on a scripting tool that'll, rather than do what this does, which is they basically took facts and actions, which are the if-then statements AIs are built from a working AI, the HD AI, and converted them into a writable format that this could take and throw around. So this is very much its own AI. It's not like it's just the HD AI copy-pasted, but it is built from components that are established by an AI scripter, a human scripter. So Gab, and to a lesser extent I, are currently working on a way of making it script from true scratch, which is much more difficult, as you can imagine, than stringing together if-then statements from existing working code. That'll be a next big step, and the other next huge step is figuring out how to isolate military economic scores and final age for all of this, so that we can give those rewards for aging up I was talking about, since it doesn't seem to be encouraged right now. Interesting that it doesn't seem to be creating these militia anymore. Huh. The little line of mill built, barracks built, mill built. You can see they're just covering the map. It must be code that just says build mills. It's good to build mills. And interestingly, these lumber camps don't appear to be covering the map. So their code must have some kind of perimeter establishment. It has to build within this certain distance of the TC. Probably not ideal, but obviously better than not building lumber camps at all, since you get this little this little distance gain here instead of having to go back all the way to the TC. Well, I think that might be all she wrote. I was hoping we'd get to see a little battle here, but you know, it wouldn't change much in the end. It's not like the AIs even really know how to wipe each other off the map yet, and it'll be interesting. One of the harder things to do is build in a resign script for this. I think that the AIs are going to have to completely destroy each other to end the game, because I just can't. I can hard code in a resign script at the end, but I found it to be very inconsistent in how it operated last time I tried that. So it might be like this forever, but we'll see. It'd be interesting if there was some way to reward it. Anyways, alright, I think that we're not going to see the battle. Sorry if I hyped it up too much, but at the very least, I think that this is super cool. I hope that you get as much, or even a fraction of the enjoyment out of watching this that I do. If you have any questions about genetic algorithms generally, or about the application here, please feel free to reach out to me in the Discord. Yeah, thanks for watching. It's an exciting project, and I'm very, very thankful that I have a community who's at least a little bit interested in it that I can share videos like this with. Alright, have a great day, everyone.